One time my client told me, literally, she was like, you look, she's like, if I sit in the sun, I'm gonna be like, I don't want to be a hash brown like you. And I'm like,
she said that?
Yeah.
Hey y'all, I just want to say I'm so sorry for getting this part 2 up so late. I've been having a lot going on in my life. And yes, I just woke up. I look a little rough. But yeah, here's part 2. Let me know what you think. And I'm going to try to be consistent after this video.
How do you feel about the weather?
Literally hated it. Literally, like,
I don't hate rain. Like, I like a nice rainy, cozy day. But
one or two.
Every day?
Every blue moon, 1 or 2. And that's what I said when I got there. I was like, oh, okay, this is cute. Everybody wants a little bowl of soup with some chicken and dumplings every now and then, you know? But
and to watch a little movie
every day, and it's dark. That's how I feel about it. It was so dark. The weather
even
was
over
dark.
here, when it be gloomy, it don't be like that dark.
No.
It's still be some brightness somewhere.
All day. Yeah.
All day.
It's dark.
Night.
You go to you wake up, it's dark. Exactly, it's cold. You just don't want to leave the house. You want to stay in heat. Like, I wanted the whole time, I just wanted to stay like warm.
I feel like people of color, like, we need to have some sun.
We need the melanin.
We need sun.
We need it. We need it for our melanin.
Like, people that are not of color, like, they can thrive in that type of weather all the time. They like that shit.
I mean,
I don't. But not for every day.
For a majority of my days. I would like to visit the cold. Like, I'll visit, like, you know, like snow.
Mm-hmm.
But to live there, no. And especially all the time. It was cold a lot.
Like, at least in Virginia, it doesn't get gloomy every day. Like, we have a lot of sunny days or whatever. Like, nothing compares to a sunny day in California.
We have seasons.
We have seasons. Like, it can get hot, real humid, fall time. Everything is kind of how it's supposed to be in a way, you know? Washington has seasons, but majority of the time, it's gloomy and rainy and dark. Like, it'll only get sunny for like one season, and it'll be like maybe 2 months. I'm not
right,
like, for real.
Yeah, like literally, and in those 2 months, like, it's the most gorgeous place ever. It really is. It's so beautiful, but it's just like, dang, it's cold and rainy. Like, I literally wear my hunter boots like every other day, and my LLB boots like every other day. That's why I liked it too, because I could just throw on whatever I wanted to wear, and it didn't matter. Like, I was living in sweats.
Girl, when I was there, I don't think I don't even care how I looked. Like, that was probably my least fashionable era ever.
Least fashionable and most undesirable, literally. Like, I look crazy in Washington.
Girl, I should have showed you my big chop.
Oh my gosh, you did the big chop in Washington. Was your head cold? You should have waited. Right, that's what I'm saying. You should have waited. So cold. I remember I got braids one time. Wrong choice, because I was like, my head was so cold.
Like, it's nothing to do there, and it's cold all the time. So it's like you isolated. Like, you feel like a mountain person. That's what we used to call them,
Really?
mountain people.
Literally, you're in the mountains. Like, you're just like, and like I said, it's so nice. It's just like, I feel like you have to like want to live like that to love it like that. Like, I did love my experience in outside, like in nature. Like, it was beautiful. Like, I went on hikes. It was so much fun. But
I didn't go on no hike. I was thinking about it, but I'm like, damn. Like, you think about how California has like all these like animals and stuff, and there's probably even more over here, and the mountains are more steep and cold. Like, I wanted to, but I just didn't get the chance to.
yeah, now that I think about it, I'd be like, dang, I was hiking like up in the mountain and with Hefe. Like, we was hiking like for real. So I'm like, dang, we should.
Like, I went to parks and stuff like that. I went to the little waterfront park, like waterfront parks or beaches. I wouldn't even call them beaches for real.
They are not beaches, y'all. They are not. There ain't no sand. When I went there,
food there in general?
Exactly,
Like the
what
options.
food? There was no option. No food. There wasn't that much for us to pick from.
It was just always
Cooked.
It was just always franchise places like McDonald's, Taco Bell, and Wendy's.
Yep, Wendy's was yep.
They didn't even have my favorite. They ain't have no Chick-fil-A, like no
Chick-fil-A, no Chick-fil-A, no Wingstop either. No nothing like that. What didn't they have the Buffalo Wild Wings? It was so slow. The Buffalo Wild Wings sucked. It was so slow. Yeah, y'all, it was crazy. No food.
No food.
Not like we were used to.
No, I had some of the Filipino food. It was pretty decent,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't eat it every day.
Yeah, I had some good Hawaiian food there. It was this Hawaiian restaurant. It was good. But it's just, exactly, you can't eat it every day. And, like, what else? What else?
It was no ramen. Of course, no soul food. Don't even think about soul food.
Don't even think about She said don't even think about soap. Yeah, because you get that's crazy.
Like, all you got is Winco.
Don't think about
Walmart. Was there even a no, Target was in.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, that was a Target. But basically, y'all get my drift. Like, we lived in a little town where there was like nothing to do.
I literally lived in
And
a town.
y'all might think like, okay, so what? Like, but if you're used to having, you know, conveniency around you, like, imagine going to a state where it's like nothing there, or moving somewhere and there's nothing there, and it's cold and gloomy all the time. I guess it just wasn't for me or my mental health. So I just started to feel it.
And it wasn't for, I know a lot of people was not good for their mental health. Like, that's another thing I was cautious of, like, moving there. Like, I was like, oh gosh, like, I'm gonna need a mood lamp. Because people were like, yeah, like, it's like the #3 state for suicide. And I see why, y'all, like, for real, like, you need to, like, I was, like, thinking about that because I'm like, okay, like, if I get depressed or I get sad, like, not saying, oh, it's okay that that's happening, but it's like, at least expect it, or like try to like brace myself, you know? So I was like thinking like, dang, having to even prepare like my mental health to move somewhere that I didn't even want to go.
Yeah, that was the thing I did.
That I didn't even want to go to.
At all. And then like the people like, the demographic.
So
Yes, the demographic.
what demographics? There was none.
Damn, it was like no culture. Like, okay, it was like mostly what? Like mostly people that are not of color. Like a lot of people said, it was a lot of, you know, white people. And I don't have an issue with white people, but being there, you talk about how people talk about how California don't have that many black people.
People do say that, yeah.
Which is true in a way, but you do see them here. Like,
yeah, I feel like in
here.
Southern California, people say that a lot. Like, oh, there's not like black people. There are. It's just like I feel like Southern California is a big melting pot of people. Like literally an international melting pot. Cause it'd be like everybody. Literally, I feel like I met so many different people like all here.
People that are not even from the United States.
Right. So it's like I go into Washington. No, there was no. there wasn't no black people, and it was just like a bunch of white people, which is fine. But it's just like with that being a black woman came some stuff.
I mean, there was some Filipinos and maybe some Mexicans, but majority just white. And I'm not used to that because even Virginia, it was like, it wasn't a melting pot like California, but it was like majority of black and white. Like it was like equal, you know, and a little bit of other things too. And here I'm just like, okay, that's why there's not that many cultures of food, probably.
You know, I don't like to not have cultures of food, yeah, but to then like even to the makeup store. I mean, like yeah, the makeup in the stores, in Walmart. Like there wasn't any for my complexion at all. Even in Target. Like that was like, and you know my color was changing, y'all, because we was inside all the time.
Yeah.
So I was so pale and like my skin skin was not glowing like
I
at
feel
all.
like my skin was real like dull and
It was
like
so cool.
it was getting lighter.
Hefe's skin, his coat, literally his coat was so pale. And we were like, oh my gosh, we all looking like crazy out here, like feeling like Twilight, the vampire on Twilight.
He was getting like
You okay? You okay? You know, like that's what I'm saying, there wasn't even like a black like community at all. To where like I'm trying to think.
Well, I had somebody in my house that was outside dating and all that, like getting on dating apps. So I would see the geographic of people. Like I would see different people. I guess when he would like hang out with people. Yeah, another thing that I've noticed was with it being nothing in our little town, everything was like a further drive away. So that affected my mental health because I don't like driving for a long period of time all the time. And like, okay, so there's Bremerton, there's Port Orchard, and then like there's like this highway that goes all the way to Tacoma and Seattle. And Tacoma and Seattle are more like my speed, you know? Like I would have rather be there in those areas. So like getting to everything, it was just like a really long drive. Like going from my town to civilization. And
right.
Yeah, like it's just even simple things like fried chicken or fried fish or the hair store. Like we didn't have
There was no hair store.
We had one like little hair store. Do you remember that hair store?
Yeah. There was one like little one and it wasn't even worth anything. It was
Like,
literally
there wasn't much in there.
There was nothing in there, and it was like one of those stores where like it almost looked like she was closing down. Like it didn't even look like it was like open.
The owner there wasn't too friendly either.
Nobody in Washington State that I met.
I'm gonna get into the people later, but like when I looked it up, I heard like a lot of reviews said that the owner was like racial profiling people or following people a lot, which I could see that. Or he just wasn't really warm or friendly or inviting, which that was the vibe I was getting every time I walked into that hair store if I needed something or whatever, which I didn't even go there that often. But I didn't feel like always driving to Tacoma to do stuff, because I was doing my hair a lot.
The fact that you were going to Tacoma?
Yeah,
I went there one time with my hair done and I was like, no. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it again. Because it wasn't even worth it. Like, I felt like all the times I got my hair done in Washington.
With what they have over there, I didn't want to risk getting my hair done.
Yeah, I got my hair done a lot and I was just like, oh.
I found like one person to do my hair, she was actually black. Like a little before I left. And the only thing I got was like 2 braids. That was it.
Straight backs, that's it. You can't mess this up.
But I mean, she did a good job. I get my hair done. Like I tried to do the best I could do, but yeah. Even with shopping, you know what I'm saying? Like all you had was like a little Forever 21 or TJ Maxx or.
Where was the Forever 21?
It was in that same plaza by the mall, but it's like a block over. Yeah, there was a little plaza that had like a Ulta, a Marshalls, a Forever 21 that closed down.
Oh, maybe that's why. I'm telling you, y'all, Washington was a blur for me. Like,
I worked at Ross, so it was a Ross there, but it was weird because it was like every store that I shopped at, if I shopped anywhere, it was outside of the mall.
right.
And I had to order online or something like that. And yeah, so had one hair store, didn't have like, I already talked about how there wasn't many cultures of food, so I cooked most of the time, I'm pretty sure. Did you cook?
Yeah, my husband cooked a lot. We cooked a lot. Like, we like planned our meals out. Cause it was that, like, it was like, what else are we gonna eat? Like, we just gotta cook these meals and eat them at home. Like,
the people out there, oh my God, let's get into the people. When I first started working at Ross, I had got a comment because I was wearing my hair natural, and he had asked me like, did I comb my hair? Like it was the little kid asking me, do I comb my hair?
yeah, that's what I'm about to say. Like, leave it the little kid. That like,
But little kid.
still, who's your parents? Who's teaching you that?
Of course, the man that was with him didn't correct him about it. They were just in there acting like he didn't just make that comment. So that was a red flag. Like, it was a red flag. I never had like a comment like that from white people. So yeah, it threw me off. Like, did he really just
It's
say
offensive.
that? Like, it really threw me off.
Right, you're just like, what? Yeah? Do you? Like, what? Like, what do you even say? Like, what? One time my client told me, literally, she was like, she's like, if I sit in the sun, I'm gonna be like, I don't wanna be a hash brown. Like you. And I'm like,
She said that?
yeah, like straight up. And even my supervisor, y'all, was like, oh wow, like, I'm sure she might have got that from her mom. But mind you too, my client wasn't a kid, but I do work with people with disabilities at the time in Washington. Like, I was working with people with disabilities and, you know, mental and physical, so, you know, and also cognitive, so. But I was like, still, she understood what she was saying. Like, she knew, like, you know, it was making you darker than me. So I'm like, oh my God, who's teaching you that? Like, where are you learning that from? Like, that's not okay just to say to somebody just because they're a different color than you.
Yeah. That's weird. And I just noticed, like, how I was treated there in general. People out here, they'll kind of smile at you, you know, compliment you. It was just different over there. Like, you know, nobody really talks to you. Or there'll be like a couple people that are nice to you here and there, or compliment you here and there, but it's rare. Like, people kind of just real cold, standoffish,
Literally.
you know, staring at you, like always staring.
Literally staring at you all the time. Like, when you walk in places, like, I know Walmart, oh my gosh, we used to get stared at all the time in Walmart. And like walking in like other stores, like, people just stare at you. Even when I would be at work, like with my clients, like at places that they work, it's like all like no mixed anything. Like, no black people, no brown people, no Asian people, nothing. Just all white people. And it's like that feeling, I'm so glad to know, is not like me feeling crazy. Because sometimes I would feel crazy. And my husband would be like,
nice. It's like I couldn't trust it. You know,
yeah.
I just felt
I met nice people for sure. But a dime a dozen, for sure. Like, 1 in every 29 million meeting people I went through, like.
Yeah, like, I couldn't get comfortable there. It just wasn't comfortable for me. And I'm not saying, like, you can't be, like, you have to be comfortable all the time to grow, but living there didn't feel comfortable. It didn't feel like I, you know, could fit. Like, it's not really about fitting in, but I fit, like,
where you were living. It didn't feel right. Like, Washington did not feel right. Like, living there didn't feel like, oh. Like, when I
do
moved
this every day for
right.
real.
When I moved to California, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like home. Like, I literally said that, like, my first trip. I was like, oh, this is comfortable. Going there, I was like, oh. And maybe it was because I didn't visit. Did you visit before you went?
California?
No, Washington. Exactly, me either. We literally moved there, moving in. Moving into our, how crazy does that sound? The first time we went somewhere was the first time we moved.
Really? And then finding a job? Oh my God.
Trash. There were no jobs. There were no jobs.
And like I said, people are cold, so it's like, I've done some interviews and stuff like that, and it just felt like the vibes wasn't there. Like, and I wasn't picked for a lot of places. Like, jobs I knew I could have did, because I left Ross at some point. They kept me in the damn fitting room all the time, which my other Ross didn't do that. So I quit. And I'm looking for jobs. I'm like, this is taking me quite a while. And, you know, then I worked somewhere where, you know, they were hiring, like, new people to do, like, a promotion for this little sale they had going on. And they didn't tell me that it was temporary for me because they wanted to keep the other girl, who was white, of course. So they wanted to keep her, and then she ended up leaving. And then, you know, they throwing them out. Then they telling me, like, I don't think this job is for you, or you're fast paced enough for this job. When y'all didn't even train me on how to work there. Y'all trained me on being on the phone. You know what I'm saying? And then they gonna try to fire me, and I'm like, you know what, just give me my check, I'm out of here. Like, I was pissed.
Bro, me my money.
Like, I was
Let me
like,
get
it
out.
was stuff like that where I knew I was being treated differently, and I feel like an outsider from people.
Yeah, I literally, when I was at work, I literally had my client not be able to work at this church anymore. It was a church, and they were so, like, racist. Like, they did not make me feel, and I've never felt that way, like, in life, and then I've also never felt that way in a church. Like, you know, where it's not supposed, you know, like, what, I never felt that way. So, he wasn't even allowed and able to come back to volunteer because, honestly, I can't even remember what they were saying. Like, they ran out of volunteers or something, or his space wasn't available. He had been volunteering there for years, you know, until I started accompanying him.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody was staring at me. Every time I would come in, it was like this one man that would always stare at me and, like, just, like, make you feel like, it made me feel like you said, uncomfortable and just like, what? Like, what? Like, hi. Like, and that's what I would say in the mornings, like, because we would do it early in the morning, like 8 a.m. And I'd be like, hi, like, good morning. Like, oh my gosh. Like, because everybody else would be like, hi, good morning. But some people also, I felt like in Washington too, were very fascinated.
Yeah,
It was like
I
a fascination. Like,
it was always hair for me. Like,
yeah.
somebody would come up to me like, oh, my friend has little curly hair just like you.
Okay, cool. Go talk to your friend because I've never. What?
How did you get your hair in those braids? Like, I would wear hairstyles and they wouldn't even say it right. Like, I had twists in my hair or something like that, and they were calling it braids or dreads.
And they was just so like fascinated with just, I feel like, because maybe because there were not a lot of other Black people around. Like, even at the church we went to, it was like kind of a bigger church, I guess, for the area. It was like maybe one other Black person we ever saw there.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Like, that's insane. Like, that to me, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where I'm living, like, oh my gosh.
And I would have other I would have biracial people come up to me like, oh, I'm mixed with Black too, and it would just be like unprovoked, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't need to know that, but I guess thank you for telling me.
Like, random facts, like, thank you, I'm not a Black, like, trivia, like, what?
Yeah, I have Black in me, or my mom was Black. I didn't even ask.
What? Right, what? How do you know I'm Black? Like, you know what I'm saying? What if you would have been, like, turned around and you are not Black? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't do that. Like, this guy literally went to Canada, and this guy in the middle of the street stopped me and my husband and ran in front of me in the middle of the crosswalk. In the middle of the crosswalk in Canada, another country. So I'm already like, you know, you don't want anybody coming up to you. Like you said, that person came up to you like to pump the gas. That's how that man. He was like, "Are you Jamaican?" And I was like, "Yo." I was like, it was almost like a leprechaun coming up to you. He wasn't that short, but the way he like got down, I was like, no, what? And then my husband's like, walk, Mia, walk. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, what even just happened? I'm like, no. And then he said something else like, oh, like my sister, somebody's Jamaican, or like you're beautiful or something. He's still talking. Like, as we're walking away, like Jerry's like pushing me across the street. And he's still like yelling. And I'm like, yo, what is wrong with, I feel like, the fascination, or what is up with it the more north you go, I feel like. On this side, at least, on the West Coast, like, oh my gosh. It was so crazy.
It's like people were there weird. It's just
Weird.
And I don't mean weird, like, oh, different, like, no, weird.
Y'all are
weird
weird.
vibes.
Weird.
You know?
Weird.
Even people that were nice, it was just weird. Like, something just felt off. I don't know if it's just me, but something just felt off. Like, traffic was always so slow. I remember I was door dashing in Seattle one day, and it took me 4 hours to get back to Bremerton because the traffic was so bad. I'm like, how am I waiting here for 4 hours? Like, traffic is just as bad over here in San Diego, and at least it moves at some point.
Right, and it's like 2 lanes there. It's so slow.
were just crashing left and right. Like, I remember I came back home from Virginia, and when I went to go visit, and we got back, and once we were on our way back home, like, people were just getting in accidents. Like, you heard the... I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
What y'all got going on in these streets? No, I feel like that here. I feel like in California, it'd be like, the accidents would be like so bad. Or like the cars would be like flipped over every time I see an accident. Like, it don't be like back home, like a little fender bender, or like it'd be like a car crash. Like, oh my gosh.
Did you witness any car crashes in Washington?
Did I? I don't think so. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that was one day where it was like a couple of crashes. And I just feel like, you know, the speed limits are not the same as they are here, so you drive a lot slower, kind of like Virginia.
Just
in a way,
slow. It's like 55.
Extra slow. And it was like a majority older people in that town.
It's an old place. It's old.
And it was just traffic everywhere, like all over Bremerton. Like, how is it a small town with so much traffic? Like, that 10-minute drive to the base was like a 20-minute.
Yeah. I think.
Probably because of the military.
Yeah. And there was like deers all over that base. Remember we'd be going
They always used to like block stuff off on the base too. I remember having to drop my husband off and then having to take a lot of like U-turns and reroutes because they blocking roads off. And then tolling people for not parking in the right spot.
Oh yeah, they was on that. They were on that.
There was like barely any parking spots.
You better not park there.
Shit. Where else are they supposed to park at? Like, okay, overall people were just like mean, like real mean. And it got to the point where I just stopped being nice to people over there. Because like I'm about tired of people talking to me crazy. So I just started, like, I cuss people out at work. Because I have the customers would treat me compared to like everybody else that works there. And they were regulars, like treating me like shit. You know, they were just constantly like microaggressing me, like every time cause I'm not the type of person, I'm not real smiley and everything. And they would just they'll make it seem like I'm always giving dirty looks or I always have an attitude. Like they would treat me like that.
Yeah, just cause I'm not smiling at you 20%, like y'all aren't smiling at me 20%. Y'all be like looking at me like a specimen. Half the time.
Like, motherfuckers would talk to me crazy, and then I reacted how I reacted, but I was the one who got in trouble. I was the one who got sent to the office, not them. Not the person who provoked me.
I was the one who got into the principal. That's funny. I didn't, like I said, my work there was just, the people I worked with were nice, but my experiences with the people in the towns that I worked in all around Washington were not. Like, just not.
Like, it took me to go to another part of town for somebody to be like, yeah, it's real racist and people are real mean here. And that was like the first time I ever heard somebody like admit that about here. Like, actually say that. So if you're black and want to move to Bremerton, Washington, I don't think you should do that.
I was gonna say 2 out of 10 recommend, but I'm trying to find the 2. 2 because of hiking.
I'll give it a 1.5.
2, yeah. 2 because of hiking. And then the outside. 2 out of 10 recommend.
Like, if you want to see scenery, then, you know, it's a good place to see. You know, it's pretty.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I would say every day. Like, it's pretty as fuck. Like, I'm gonna miss the scenery and shit like that. But that is it. So, did you make any friends there?
Yeah, I did. I met like some cool people like that I showed me Washington, like went hiking. I actually met her at like when we were out to dinner one night, like random. Like that's how you know y'all like making friends with so random. Like my husband like made me like be friends. Like he was like be friends with her. Like get like y'all made me hang out with her. Like you need it. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause there was literally no other way to make friends around there. Like that I found that was working. So yeah, she was cool. But also like I could tell they weren't like the people that we would hang around like some of them were just not used to being like around like a black person or like somebody different, and that's something I had to think about. Like, oh, okay, like maybe they aren't used to this because they just. I guess you can't help where you live. You know what I'm saying? And she was so nice. Like we became friends, and she showed me all around Washington. That's why I say 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10.
I'm not afraid to. We didn't go out though. Like I just come to her house and she come to mine. But like I said, it was just weird. Like it was just weird around there. Like I don't know, people there are just not very welcoming.
Yeah, it's not like our neighbors having a friend made it better, that much better.
Like our neighbors were cool. But even they were kind of weird. I don't know. Yeah, how did you feel when you got the news that we were moving back?
When we were moving back, I was like, yo, like, thank God. Like, I always knew we were moving back, you know what I'm saying? We always knew, but when we found out a date, right, when we found out a date and they actually told us, like, okay, like, y'all are going back, then I was like, okay. But I went back before the ship, so. I went back before the trip, so for me, I was like, and then going back and it being COVID too.
Oh yeah, COVID was just even worse. Like being there during COVID was just.
That's what made me so much ready to go. More ready to go. That's why I was like, okay. When they were like, okay, it's time for y'all to go, I was like, bet, let's go.
Like around COVID, that's when I lived in my second place. Like I lived in my apartment in Port Orchard. And it was more modernized, like it was better. My kitchen was real tiny though, and then like we had free parking, so everybody was just hogging up the parking space, the parking lot, and it was frustrating because sometimes I would go somewhere, come back, and there's nowhere to park.
So I bet you were excited to get back.
Yeah,
even though they said like in California they'd be like, oh, there's no parking in California, and it isn't. Like when I be thinking about it, and it sucks. Like the parking here does suck, but yeah, I was so excited to go back. Like I was like, yo,
I couldn't wait. And then like at the same time, I had to readjust my mind to going back there because during that time, that's when like it was like forest fires and shit. So I came home and I noticed some areas were like burnt and shit like that. So I'm kind of like, I want to be back here, but damn.
And it's pretty, and that's what I noticed too. Driving back, I was like, now I see what they were saying. Like it is like. Green dirt
or just desert,
right? Burnt. I really see they were like, people used to be like, when I was first living in California, people used to be like, oh, it used to be way more prettier. But what do you mean? This is gorgeous.
It is.
Coming from Virginia and then going to Washington and then coming back, I was like, okay, I see what y'all was talking about.
It felt like it was just a long time, but I'm so glad to be back. And yeah, hopefully that's just everything that we went through. Like that was our experience, and glad I'm back. Glad we got to meet each other.
I'm glad we did too, because I wish I knew then without I know you now.
Yeah, but that was our experience. I mean, if you want me to, make any more videos about my experiences with different states, I definitely want to make a California video. Or even maybe Virginia video, being from Virginia. I don't know.
Stay tuned. Yeah, I will do that on my channel, Virginia.
Yeah,
being from Virginia.
Being from Virginia.
Stay tuned.
All right, so yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, I will see you guys next week.
Hey.